He's ready.
All right, so we're back. We're clapping and back. I think we're up to episode 8 now. We've disconnected for a hot minute. Now it's summer break.
Summertime,
Kids are out of school. It's juggling, running around, trying to fit everything in.
Well, and summertime's such a busy time for us,
Such a busy
real
time.
estate-wise.
It
And then
is.
kids home.
The kids are definitely a different element. I know your kids go to camp.
Yeah, thank God.
We went away for 2 weeks to Italy, so we do our summers different.
Okay, how was that? We haven't talked since then.
It was amazing. It was a great trip, but it was super freaking hard.
Yeah.
Because you have 4 kids, me and John, and you got to see things. Mm-hmm. You don't want to miss out because you just traveled, 24 hours away.
Okay, but you went to Italy, and then you got on a cruise up.
Yes.
What?
So if I would have done things differently, I would have stayed in Italy, did a week in Italy, and then I would have went to Greece and stayed 2 nights on this island, 2 nights on this island, because then when you go on the cruise, it's so rushy. Mm-hmm. We just hit a wall. All of us were freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
And now what? It's been 3 weeks since I've been back, and I finally feel like
up.
myself this week.
Yeah.
It was. That catch-up was brutal. Not only did I gain 5 pounds that I still can't freaking lose because I ate pasta
YOLO.
in the morning.
You have to eat those.
I know, but it's now driving me crazy. It's now
Yeah.
it's been 3 weeks. Let's get back to
Okay, have you seen the, speaking of losing weight, have you seen the Rice Simpic? Have you heard of this?
No.
On TikTok?
No.
Okay. There's this guy that is trending because he's doing... Every morning he gets a cup of rice, and he soaks it in water, and then he pours the water, away from the rice, drains it, and then he squeezes 1 lime or 1 lemon in the water, and he drinks the water. And he's lost 5 pounds in 1 week.
Are you being serious?
It's dead serious. And people are trending it and saying it's Rice Simpic because it's actually a probiotic.
All right,
that it
I'm gonna
turns
have to
into.
look at that.
Yeah,
because I literally there was
might get your weight off real quick.
I know. There was this place in Spanish Fort that one time I did this 3-day juice cleanse. Well, they're no longer open, and then I just gave up. But I was like, if I could just do a freaking 3-day juice, it's hard when you get older.
Go to the sauna. Do you have a sauna?
I know. That's what I told John.
Wear the shirt, the thermal.
What I want to get is a sauna because we used to have this.
Everybody's putting it in their house.
I just want to sweat because it's just it's just being held on. But Italy was amazing. Good. It was great.
I digress.
The catch up, like I said, was brutal.
So you went Italy to Greece on the cruise?
So we flew to Italy, and let me just tell you, I just thought of this now. Traveling there was literally an effing nightmare. So it's already hard with kids. At the end of the day, you sleep on the plane, you wake up in the morning, a different day. And our pilot decided when we were all on the flight that he had a family emergency. I guess he didn't decide. I guess he had a family emergency. So
mid-air or before?
Literally, we're all on the plane ready to take off. And then they come on and they're like, I'm sorry to let you know the pilot had a family emergency. We now have to find a new pilot. It's Friday night. We were on the plane. It was 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, great. So now we all get off. These planes are 3 rows of 4. It's they're massive planes with tons of people.
Oh, yeah.
So we get off the plane. I'm like, all right, let's just go get dinner. So we found a spot where at a restaurant, thank God. So then I had John keep checking. They were texting us. And then the co-captain, the co-pilot or whoever he is, he had a family emergency. And then I was like, this is weird, John.
You think they were drinking?
And John always was like, oh, you got us on American Airlines. I was like, why do you say that? He's like, there's so many problems. And I was like, oh, now I'm freaking paranoid even more.
So were you on American then?
Yeah.
Oh, always problems with American.
I love Delta, but this is
Delta,
the thing where we live here. There's no good flights. You can't go anywhere. Nothing is easy here to travel.
Atlanta.
So it all sucks.
Yeah.
It's all hard. So then it took 3 hours. And then finally we had 2 pilots. Obviously, I'm like, we're doomed.
Okay, but you and I, and people don't know this when we travel, we're big on signs.
And I kept saying to myself,
don't get on the plane.
But then I'm like, I have all these kids. I don't be that crazy person. And I'm like, it's nighttime. I'm exhausted because now it's 10 o'clock at night, my bedtime.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to get on the plane. And then, I noticed this older couple because also we booked this later in the year. It wasn't advanced. So our seats, it was 2 here, 2 in front. So I was with the kids, and then John and my stepson were on the opposite side. So there was this older Italian couple that was sitting with us, and I don't know why, but we were about to get on the plane, and I observed them checking their blood their blood.
No.
And I was like, oh, they're older. I knew my grandparents have diabetes. I don't know why that Well, now I know why. But I don't know why, like, my brain honed in on that. So they're sitting, like, with me and my kids. This older Italian couple don't speak any English. So I finally fall asleep. The plane takes off. I'm sleeping. And then all of a sudden I hear the stewardess, your wife, shaking. Oh, I got the chills. Shaking the husband, your wife. And they were older. So I look back. She's like laying flat on oh my God, she's laying flat on, I can't believe this is not part of the plan. She was laying just flat on the back of the plane, like lifeless.
She died?
And I was like, okay, like this was the reason, like this is such a, like why am I doing this? Like why do I put myself in these situations? But you can't predict this. So they get on, is there any doctors on board? 2 doctors rush from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. I could see everything. It's literally happening in front of me, and this couple was like literally just sitting next to me.
And you are the worst person to witness this.
Honestly, I got out of my seat. I went into the bathroom because I was sitting in the end, and I literally was saying out loud in the bathroom, I was like, please God, just get her better. I started crying because I was like, I don't want my kids to freak out. Everyone else is like, what's going on? So then I get back in my seat. I look back. And then they called for this, I don't know what they called for. Does anyone have this type of medication? So I think what happened was her insulin, because I was watching them prick themselves, dropped, that she needed a shot of insulin maybe.
Like an EpiPen or something?
Something.
Yeah.
So somebody had it. I look back and then I see her, they were holding her up and I could see her eyes open. I was like, thank you fucking God. I was like, how do you get back?
But I also love that, like, you left your children to go to bed. I don't want my kids to witness this.
I didn't want to have a breakdown. Yeah. I did not want to have a breakdown in front of everyone. It's already, and I'm like, I don't even know. A lot of the plane was sleeping, but I was woken up because he was sitting next to me, and he woke. You know that the stewardess was shaking him because he was sleeping, and then
he had no idea. She's just on the ground.
She went to the bathroom to go use the bathroom, and the stewardess said she just collapsed.
Scary.
So that's
thank God the stewardess saw. I mean,
and caught her.
Because sometimes on those flights,
and caught her.
Yeah.
She said she caught her.
Oh, caught her.
Because if she would have fell, she would have hit her head. It was horrible. Yeah. But so.
But sometimes on those long flights like that, when it's like nighttime, they don't do service.
Well,
you don't see them for a minute.
And then you're also thinking you're flying over what, the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. Where do you stop?
Nowhere. They die.
Stop. Well, luckily that's not the story I had to tell.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
It's horrible. I don't know why that just
it was so traumatic.
Activated me just so.
So I don't even know. I just thought of that, but I'll never forget that moment. So that was the start of Italy.
Traveling with Rachel.
It did not continue that way.
That's good.
It was a great trip. Like I said, the only thing I would have done differently, I wouldn't have done the cruise. It was too rushy. I would have spent more time on each, island, like more leisure.
Was it like a cruise, like here, like where they have the pools and all the activities?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
And we love Royal Caribbean. Like, I know a lot of people don't like to cruise. We like to cruise. It works for us.
Okay.
And then the kids, they get to play with other children.
And you don't have to really worry about them, like...
No. There's lifeguards everywhere.
Yeah.
I could sit. We'll all be in one area, have walkie-talkies. Bryson likes to explore. So it, like, literally works for a family. You can eat anytime. It was great. But now, back to reality. They catch up. And...
That's the brutal part.
It was so hard because the kids are still home. I want to spend time with my kids. So you're always constantly battling yourself. Am I not doing enough during their summer break?
Right.
Because, I mean, it's...
I know, but I'm like, my kids, they live our kids, even yours, they live a charmed life. You know what I mean? Like, I always have to remember that because I'm like, oh, I feel guilty. They're here for too long or they're this.
I know. Because it's
like this week they're doing sail camp. So I'm like,
I know.
They're having fun. It's not like I'm shoving them at a camp. They're learning how to tie knots, how to sail a boat. Like, it's fun.
No, and
Although I didn't think about it because I was like, oh, I'll book them the same week. And then it makes it great. They're doing the same time. Well, my Jetty is in a younger group and Ollie's in an older group. So one's in the morning, one's in the afternoon. So it's literally all day just back and forth.
Sucks.
Busting them around. But it's worth it. They're having a good time.
It's worth it. Yeah. So summer break, like, I look forward to it because you're off that, like, school schedule. Yeah. But then it's hard because it's like, am I giving my business enough attention? Am I giving my agents enough attention? Am I giving my kids enough attention? Am I giving myself downtime? Because I'm constantly like, I'm not doing enough in one area.
Yeah. You can't be everything to everybody.
No, but I think also been doing this, since my kids before they were even born. It's like, you're going to regret this if you don't put that time in.
I agree.
You're going to. So you take those 2 weeks, go to Italy because this time next year could look different for a family.
And you're not guaranteed tomorrow.
That's the thing. I always say that. I mean, look at the woman on the plane.
I know.
So easy her life could have just ended that moment.
Well, and we have friends in common that have lots of money and have worked their whole lives, but we're always like, for what? You can't take it with you.
No.
You know, now you're at the end of your life, and
it's so true. And so many
you haven't
people,
done your experiences.
they work, save, and they're like, when we retire, we'll get to do all these things. Retirement is not.
And they retire and they drop dead. Like that's always what happens.
100%.
Or they get a sick
your health, like, is
or,
your health, and I'm so like conscious of that. Getting closer to 40 is like your health is everything.
Yeah.
Once your health goes, you can't do all these things. So
Right.
take advantage of it. Like literally tomorrow, your whole world can change.
I know.
So now getting back to town and gearing up for our NAR changes coming upon us.
Coming.
August 17th, we'll be here before we know it.
Yeah.
And it's just now training, getting agents trained up because for those of you that don't know, buyer agency compensation will no longer be on our MLSs and, our value is being challenged.
Yeah. And I'm hearing that more and more. Oh, come August, we don't have to pay agents.
It's for
And,
this,
and
all
real,
the,
yeah, it's because NAR didn't get ahead of it.
and that's not what this is.
It's not.
Just because the compensation's not going to be offered on the MLS does not mean that sellers are still not compensating buyer agents. But commissions have always been negotiable.
Always.
So that's been the pain point.
Yes.
Is you never had to do anything.
Right.
But if you want to get your house sold in this market, it's slower. We're not in 2020,
No.
2021, 2022. I mean, homes are now sitting, I think the average is like 54 days in the market. I've had listings past 100 days.
Oh, yeah. Listen, when I first started in the business, the average days on market in Baldwin County was 6 months. So you get a 6 to 8 month listing agreement,
I did one
Usually
year.
eight
I did
months.
1 year.
1 year's good, too.
I did 1 year.
Because what happens is you wouldn't sell it,
Yep.
and then
6
it would expire in 6 months, and then the next agent would list it in 2 weeks and sell it.
Literally, it was like
So
when
frustrating.
you got to 6 months, you're like, all right, this house is going to go under contract. And honestly, it's almost like we're shifting back to if the interest rates go down, the market's going to be booming
It'll
again.
go back again,
But
yeah.
you could for me, you could feel it balancing out.
It's balancing. And
It's
honestly, if the
balanced.
rates would get around like the 5,
We would be
5.5, that's a good rate. That's still a good rate. And my first house I ever bought was
Yeah.
5.75.
Yeah.
And it was great.
And
I was also broke, freshly out of college, freshly married, and my payment was $500, and I was sweating. How am I going to make $500?
I know,
You
but-
can't rent a house for $500.
No,
You know,
inflation's hard. So
It
it's going to be
is.
hard for buyers. So yeah, sellers could still pay. I go on these listing appointments lately.
just to educate.
And I educate. I'm like, I know you've heard about this. Sometimes they'll say it sooner than I'll bring it up. And I'm like, that's not what this lawsuit is. You could still pay a buyer's agent. And I recommend you do. Because they are going to help get your
It's going to give you a
sold.
competitive edge.
Because another thing is too, if the buyer's agent has this agreement with their buyer that they're due, a fee at closing, and then the buyer can't afford it, well, don't you think they're going to have to skip over your house?
Absolutely.
So
And I've actually had meetings with sellers where they've said the opposite. Like, I think it's actually more beneficial that we pay a good commission,
I
a
agree
good
with
buyer's
that.
fee. You know what I'm saying?
especially
To make it
right
appealing.
now.
Yeah. But some people are saying, oh, no, we don't have to pay you. Well, it's like, no, sir. Like, and I actually gave an analogy to one guy. He's a carpenter. And I said, listen, he does for some builders. And I said, if you went into this builder's home and you finished completion early of your cabinets and you installed them, and he came to you and said, well, you finished early. You really didn't spend that much time on it. I'm not going to pay you this time. He said, well, I'll be damned. I said, exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to work for free. They
Yeah.
may have only showed your house for 10 minutes, but they wrote the offer.
Yep.
That's the beginning of their work
Yeah.
because they're going to have to jump through hoops with appraisal, with the inspection
Inspection
report,
period.
making sure the lender is on there.
I know.
They're juggling. Buyer's agents earn every penny. In most cases, they
Literally,
earn every penny.
They do, and you're
Both
you're,
do. I mean,
yeah, but like you're going.
yes.
Because it's at first, I mean, you're showing homes and it never really happens. I mean,
Yeah.
in rare cases, it happens the first day out. I mean,
Right.
you could be showing for 6 months. I've shown someone for a year,
Oh, yeah.
more than a year. So you add all that up. I mean, it's literally.
Oh, yeah. And I had an agent come to me the other day and say, I've been showing these people for a year. Like, I need some advice. And I just said, don't give up. Like, you got to
Exactly, and you can't force them into.
and you can't
when
get
it clicks,
tired.
it clicks.
When it clicks, it clicks, and they'll know. And so sometimes the seller may see, oh well, they just walked in our house and they were to offer. They didn't do any work. I shouldn't have to pay them. You don't know what they've been doing for a year.
Exactly.
And it just happens. This is the house they want. But
Exactly.
but now they're having to communicate with the lender, with the appraiser. Like making
And
sure
coordinate,
everything.
get your contingencies down. I mean, there's a lot that
Yes.
there's so much that people don't see that goes on in real estate. I know, I've said this before. We obviously were posting on social media. We say we sold a house. You think we're on these You have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. I mean,
and it's 24/7. There's no break.
And it's if the public really saw us behind closed doors, they would definitely have a different opinion of us.
And it's not like Sunset or what is the shows? I don't even watch them. Malibu or it's nothing like that.
$1 Million Listing.
Yeah, no, that's for TV.
It's literally, I mean, you're dealing with different personalities, so it's exhausting in itself to have to, like, you got to speak to this client this way. You have to fill the needs of this client. They need the attention here. You have to answer at night here. And then it's emotions.
Yeah.
And sometimes we all say we feel more like therapists at the end of the day than anything. I know. And it's emotionally draining for us.
Yeah, sometimes you want to crawl in the corner and cry. I think
but you gotta love what
times.
you do. Yeah. And I think with all these changes, I don't think I know, it's really going to wean out those agents that have been in it for a quick buck because the market was great. It's really the stronger seasoned agents are just going to get stronger and hone in on their skills. And I think this is going to wean out a lot of those agents that, don't take this on full time and it's just like a part-time gig, which is not a bad thing, but it's going to wean out agents in the industry.
They shouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think us seasoned agents are almost excited for that.
Yeah.
It kind of opens up
it's like
opportunity.
Adapt and thrive or don't die. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the only thing inevitable is change. And it's going to change. And we can't control what happens. We just have to adopt it and adapt and move on, I mean, it's good. It's good to articulate your worth and to tell someone why you're worth X amount of dollars. Or, you know what I'm saying? Yes. And it's good practice to get buyers and contracts and to show them, well, you can't just come show with me for 6 months and then go buy a house for sale by owner of somebody else. You have a contract with me that we're going to show you. We're going to do all these things.
There's more loyalty.
That's right.
To you too.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of disloyalty in the industry too.
That's right. So I think I really do think it'll be a good change.
I agree with that too.
It's going to be some growing pains in the beginning,
of course,
learning and adapting and
do
I do this with it? Yeah. I think there's still a lot of up in the air. Like people don't really understand like how if somebody walks into an open house, what they're supposed to do, like a one time for that property, buyer agency. There's a lot of uncertainty.
And I think also one of the harder thing is too is those internet leads.
Yeah.
And they're out of state. So there is, because you almost don't, if you guys don't know that what the changes are is that we need to have a document signed before we open a door stating this is our commission, this is what we're going to, like a list, it's a listing appointment for buyers.
Right.
But they have to sign something before we could even open the door. And I think that is going to be the hardest part of everything because, not everyone's going to want to commit to something on paper.
Especially if they don't know you.
And I don't really blame them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be the learning curve of like, what's the best way to approach this? And a lot of people are coming from out of state. So it's going to be Zoom meetings, phone calls, not really so much in person because a lot of people coming here live out of state.
Well, and like when you go on a listing appointment, you have all your documents. You're going to have your comps. You're going to have like I always have like a leave behind listing presentation that tells about me, all these things, right? Past sales. You're going to see that now with buyers.
Yes.
You're going to have buyer appointments where you meet with them and basically sell yourself and tell them what you're going to do for them.
Exactly.
How much your fees are, those kind of things.
No, it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I am excited about it.
We're 2 months out.
Yeah.
And that was another thing at the NAR conference. I didn't realize when they made the announcement to the date. I thought we were waiting on the judge to sign off on everything. And they're like, oh, no, it's happening before the judge is signing off on everything with the lawsuit. I was like, the summer months, we all know how I feel about these summer months. Don't bother me.
Don't meet Rachel. So just come talk to me and I'll help you.
Summer months are my time to shine and chill and regroup and just
reset, recenter,
get ready for the third and fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that though sometimes at Christmas too. I'm like,
no, I do too.
It's very. I want to be in my house with my kids.
I've realized how I behave is very cyclical, and I'm the same thing. Like December. No.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for the holidays, but December is such a busy month. We do like Elite Gives Back stuff. You do your company party and like your
school stuff.
The school plays, the end of the school this, the that. It's like December's it's just like the summer.
Yeah.
December's exhausting. June and July are exhausting.
But I always romanticize it. I'm like picturing myself like snuggled by the fire and like a mountain place.
I know. We're like all going to watch Christmas movies. I couldn't get them to watch a Christmas movie. We have a movie theater. I couldn't even get them to go in there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, let's do it. Hot chocolate. No. And the older they get is the less they're going to want to be around us. I see with my 13-year-old now.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to like do one-on-one things during the holidays. All right, so enough about that boring NAR stuff. We'll let you know when how things transpire. Phone break.
Tell me something funny. What's a funny story that you've got?
So funny that you said that. I was actually laughing about this on the way here. So recently this year, I got a call for a listing appointment. No big deal. And he gave me the address of the property. And I was like, oh, like, I know that house. Like, one of my, actually, the first agent at Elite, like, that was the house that she rented. I was like, oh my God, that's so freaking
Full
ironic.
circle. Yeah.
And now she lives in Arkansas. So I was like, oh my God, this is great. So, like, how I've been all year, like, I'm, like, down to the second getting places. And I put my GPS on, even if I know where I'm going, like, my GPS is on, because I'm, like, on the phone, I'm distracted. And if I don't do that, I will miss my turn. Mm-hmm. So I get everything ready. I forgot what I was doing before, but I was, like, down to the second. Like, literally, the GPS said I was going to get there, like, on the dot. And I kind of, like the 2-minute buffer.
Right.
So I pull on the street, and I was like, all right, GPS, I got it from here. So literally, I pull on the street.
So you turned it off.
I turned it off. I was like, I got this.
Mistake
like,
number one,
good.
right?
Like, don't worry about me, GPS. I'm home. I got this. Listing in the bag. So I see the man outside, and I pull up into the driveway, and he's like, hi. And I'm like, how are you? And I said, I'm Rachel. He says, you look familiar. And
say, I hope you did some research
on
me,
right?
right?
I said, well, you probably get all my flyers. Like, you know, I sell a lot of houses in this market. That's why you probably recognize me. Nothing has clicked yet that, you know, why would he even say you look familiar? So I said, all right, like, we're like having like a standoff in the driveway. It almost felt like, and I was like, okay, so can you take me inside your house and give me a tour of your property? He's like, I'm not selling my house.
What? What?
And I look up, and I think, because I was like rushing, I was in a mad dash, like, it didn't click. Like, this was not the house that my first agent that I ever had that I've been inside before. This is not the house. And I was like, oh. I was like, I'm so
whoopsie.
And I think also, I was like, damn, I think that's like was one of my worst fears, is like going to the wrong house and being like, I'm here. And they're like,
hey,
who are you? And it happened.
Okay, so what did he do?
Okay,
how do you end? What do you abort?
So then I'm like, oh my God, I am so sorry. Now I look over to my left, and I see I'm like literally right next door to the house where I should be at. And it's so unfortunate. It's mortifying to even think about now. But they were standing outside. They watched me do all
this. No. So then you are quick on your feet and you're marketing, right?
So I literally pull out of the driveway, and the guy's probably like, the real seller's probably like, this girl, we just talked about how she knows this house. Like, why is she even there? So I was like, sorry, if you ever want to sell in the future, I'm your girl.
Bye.
Let me go to my real appointment. And now I'm 2 minutes late. So I pull out of the driveway. I go into the other driveway. They're standing outside, and I was like, I'm just going to play it off like nothing happened. Like,
did they say anything?
He did.
What did he say?
He's like, did you go to the wrong house?
No, that wasn't me.
And I was like, no. I was like, yes, I was just rushing and blah, blah, blah. I was like trying to like let's just get past this awkward moment. I was like, please give me a tour of your house.
Yeah.
Continue.
And change the subject.
And I'm like, oh my God, Rachel, like you just rush everywhere, and this is the reality.
No, but the funny thing is that guy is never going to forget you. He's going to be like, call that crazy
Imagine.
bitch. Yeah.
I'll keep you posted if I get that listing appointment. So I got the listing for that house, and I also just bought a beach condo with me too. So
cool.
I pulled it off very well, and now I know, keep the GPS on until you are actually in the red dot.
Right. I got this. No, actually, I don't.
I think those are the best things in real estate, when you have these funny stories after everything we go to.
Yeah.
So do you got a
It keeps
funny
it light.
One? It does. All right, so we were just talking about some funny real estate stories, so I want to hear what's one of that you got for us.
Okay, the one that I can think of that comes to mind is, I told you we used to do a lot of foreclosures.
Yes.
So it would take us to different places. And this one was in Citronelle, which I'm not like super familiar with, but it's like deep in Mobile.
Yeah.
And there was an older house. It was like built in the 20s. And it's a cool house. You know, it's one of those where it's like a big square. You've got like your kitchen, your dining, and then the bedrooms.
Yes.
You know, so it makes like a big square. Well, I was already a little on edge because when we got there, it looked like somebody was maybe squatting there.
Yeah.
There was like dishes in the sink on
That's
the porch,
also
and there
one
was
of my fears.
yeah. So I'm like, is somebody here? There's a ladder that goes up to an attic, like right on the back porch. You know, I'm like, is somebody up there? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're going through the house. I'm leading the way. I'm taking pictures. Because you have to do so many pictures for, when you're doing Fannie Mae foreclosures. So you got to get all the angles, all this. I make it all the way to the back square over here. And I'm wearing, I think I'm wearing white pants. I don't remember. I looked at, this is important, okay? Don't look at me like that. So I look down, and my pants are completely black.
No.
And I don't know if I've ever told you this. I have a huge fear of fleas.
Okay, I didn't know about the fear of fleas. But yeah.
Yes, I don't know why, but like I panic, and I must have some pheromone or something. They love me.
That's horrible.
We'll be like anywhere, and I'll have a flea. I'm like, why is there a flea on me? Like anywhere. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I look down, legs are covered in fleas, and I go, fleas, run! And I like take off, and it's like something you see in slow motion. I don't run fast anyway. You can't tell.
And
so
your dad's with you.
my dad's with me, and he's like,
does he start
look
running
at the
too?
hardwoods. He loves architecture. So look at that. He loves antiques too. So I'm like, go beeline and pass, run. I'm like, I get out. I'm first one out. I'm not gonna die. I'm out. So I'm like trying to get him off. He's got him on him. He's just kind of like, shaking, covered. Okay. And he goes, well, just take your pants off. And I said, I can't. And he goes, why? And I said, I don't have any underwear on.
Oh my God.
Said, why don't you have underwear on? I was like, this is irrelevant at the moment. Let's get these fleas off me.
So we wind up getting, you got to get water? Like, what do you get?
Yeah, I walk next door and use these people. I don't know who they were. I just used their hose. I was desperate.
Once you get them in your car.
I know.
Then they're going to
It's horrible.
I
know. But I recently experienced, so when you're down here in the South, like the heat, I guess it's like, because I talked to a pest control company and they said like they lay dormant and they get like reactivated.
Yes.
So you could think they're all gone, but then one day they're just going to pounce, So I went to this property. It was a really good buying Gulf Shores. I couldn't get in the door. I was covered in fleas. I was in the yard. That's how bad they were.
That's the worst. It is horrible when tenants move out and then you got to like.
Yeah, I found out they had like 14 dogs in the yard. I'm like, well, no wonder I was covered in fleas. Yeah.
Horrible.
Fleas are like, ooh.
The worst. And funny, so I just had random thought.
You picture me with no underwear, right?
No. I was just thinking about how did this property not have fleas? So I had this rental. We could probably go on and on with the rental horror stories.
Oh yeah, I got a million.
Property management. I mean, it's like a everyday occurrence. You're just like, oh, here we go. She's crazy. So I had one the other day. Not the other day. It's been going on. She hasn't paid. She's paid. We've listened to the saga stories. We just let it, There's only so much you can do until you need the judge's approval to actually act. So you kind of just got to like put up with the bullshit.
Yeah.
But the Daphne Animal Control called me. And they're like, we're about to press charges on her. And I was like, okay. She had, and she didn't even know. She had 16 cats.
Oh, God.
How did I not have fleas? I was thinking that. I was like, that's so weird because when she finally moved out and we cleared it out, I went there, nothing.
Okay, and cat fleas are different than dog fleas.
But there was nothing on me.
They're little tiny.
But there was nothing.
They're horrible.
But like, wouldn't there be 16?
You would think.
How does a flea start?
Eggs?
But like, I guess if they're all inside all day.
I don't know.
From
the yard, I don't know.
I just think that's so weird that how did I not have one?
But also, like, I always, like, when a tenant is evicted or they move out, like, you should know, like, I should spray myself with something or, to try to repel because I'm walking into it, but then I always forget and I'm like, oh, please.
I didn't even think about it.
Oh, it's horrible.
But then I was.
But summertime's the worst.
But I was standing there and I was like, this is odd because I'm not getting bit by anything. It was odd.
Well, we had one years ago, this house in Foley, and it had carpet in the house. I really advise everyone, if you're going to have a rental.
I know.
LVP.
And maybe that's why, because it wasn't carpet.
Luxury vinyl plank, because otherwise...
I agree with that whole
They can get in that carpet, and they lay eggs. Anyway, they can just keep multiplying. So we had a flea issue when the last tenant moved out. The new tenant moved in. There's fleas in this house, whatever. I was like, oh my gosh. We sent 2 pest control companies. The first one, they went twice. They could not get rid of the fleas. The second one I called, he was a local guy. I'll tell you his contact information later, but he's so funny. But he went his rail country, and he sniffs all the time because he's probably doing way more dosage than you're supposed to. So he goes in, he gets rid of the fleas. I'm like, leave it to him. He's great, right?
But so the tenants had to leave because they had a bomb it.
Well, I can't remember if it was we got them before she moved in. The tenant moves in, now she's calling there's fleas. She has dogs, okay? So he goes, he sprays, whatever. She said, there's still fleas. He says, you got to vacuum, you got to empty it out, all these things. There's steps, you know. So she's still saying, he goes, lady, there ain't no fleas in this house. I killed them all. He gets on the carpet. He starts rolling around. He's rolling on the floor. Ain't no damn fleas in here. If it's anything, come from your dog.
I want his contact information.
Yeah. He's awesome. Yeah. But like literally, like, because they're like regulated. Yeah. But if they can't, if like a company can't get rid of them, I just call this guy and he gets rid of it.
It's always the old
Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah.
That gets stuff done.
Yeah.
They do.
He handled it.
That's great. Yeah. Fleas is always an issue. Or like the cockroaches. Ugh. You've had infested cockroach places? You've never had that in all of your management?
No, but when I was in college, I moved into an apartment rental, and it had those English ones. Oh my God, it was horrible. I was like breaking out in hives. They were on the ceiling.
No.
They were on
you lived with them?
No, I didn't live there. I didn't know it. I was moving in, and I brought all my stuff in, and the whole apartment was filled with them.
It's horrible.
And I tried to vacuum them up. I tried to get sprayed.
You got to bomb it.
Oh, it was horrible.
And multiple times usually.
I was like having a psychological issue.
Yeah,
you know?
I haven't had it in a hot, knock on wood.
Yeah, please. I don't want that.
I haven't had that in a hot minute, but... Those were some of my worst ones.
You can't get rid of them.
No.
They like get in the appliances.
Like,
they get behind, like, I remember.
Literally, the refrigerator. You open the refrigerator, they were everywhere. And I think the worst, there was this horrible one in Daphne I walked into, and I literally could not believe my eyes. There was like dog feces in the carpet. Like, they just moved out. They were mad. Like, the owner wants to sell. They were supposed to buy the house. The owner's like, I'm done. Like, you've had enough time. Like, I got to get this house sold. Like, we have things going on in our life. So we're like, we're not going to continue. And people get mad.
Yeah.
So, like, they love the little FUs. But then I was like, I went there to do the walk. They were like, feces in the carpet, cockroaches, I've never, to this day,
But how do you live like that?
And with a child. And I was...
That makes you like want to be like, I'm going to reach out to somebody.
And I sent the agent a picture. I was like, this is the condition, how a child was living. I was pissed.
It was an agent?
Well, they had an agent. They were doing like a lease per,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
It wasn't an agent themselves. And if it was, I would not tell you.
Yes, you would, just off camera.
Oh my God. So I'm going to start from now on. I want to keep writing down my funny stories because I think that's what
I know I have to. I forget.
The viewers like, and I think it's just so light and we all go through stuff.
Yeah. You have to laugh at yourself and laugh at the experiences.
If I didn't laugh and have humor, if I didn't have that, I don't think I would be here 20 years.
No.
In this business. Like, you just have to laugh.
Yeah. We called each other this morning. We were like, we're going to shoot today. And I was like, I said GVO. Good vibes only. We're going to laugh. Like, we just need to laugh. We need to feel lighthearted.
I came from a crankier appointment. I was like, oh my God.
I said, don't bring that energy in here. We're going to have a good time.
It's like, let me go to Chicken Salad Chick. Let me eat some food. And I'll
eat some food. That's always what people always say. Did you eat? Mm-hmm. But also, in that moment, it pisses me off more. Don't ask me if I ate.
No,
it's very clear I didn't eat.
I get hangry. And literally when it hit, like, it'll hit me.
Back
and you got no time.
Yeah.
There's no time to react. Like, you can't even order something fast enough. It is the worst.
Yeah. This tongue, gets me in trouble.
So I was like,
cut you down, talk real fast. Yeah.
Before we start. All right. So we've talked about funny stories. So is there something that's happened that was like just scary and just...
Okay, I kind of have two. So I had a horror story, and it is with a rental. Like, it's very rare in our area because we're very tropical here. It's, we don't have cold weather.
Yes.
But we every now and then, occasionally, we have free snaps. And so one year we had a freeze. And so you have to go by every vacant property. First of all, you got to send all your tenants a message to drip the water, open the cabinets, turn the heat on, do all these things. You know, if you're out of town, let me know. I'll come to the house, you know, that kind of things. But then you have to go to all the vacant properties and kind of drip their waters so they don't freeze and burn.
And literally when these things happen so I grew up in New York. Mm-hmm. So when a freeze comes to Alabama or you got
we don't
in the 30s,
play.
They like literally it is like the whole city is about to burn.
We shut down.
And then my husband owns a plumbing company. So many people are calling him. What do we do? How do we handle this? And I'm like, John, like we have blizzards.
I honestly don't know. Like, also, like I'll go off topic real quick, but like we had like a really. Do you remember that year? It was like 2015. Like everything ice everywhere.
Yes, and they canceled the school. You couldn't drive.
Yeah, we had ice on the beach. Yes. Like the beach was frozen.
Yes, I remember that.
I was like, they were like, you need to stock up if you lose power. I mean, what do you? They say buy bread and milk. I'm like, well, what do I put it in the yard? Like, what do I do with the milk?
Ridiculous. Let me tell you also. You know, we would go to school in the snow.
Yeah.
If it gets below 32
like slurry.
degrees, you got no school.
Yeah.
You ain't going to school.
You stay home.
No one knows how to drive in the freezing cold.
No. No idea.
It's the funny. And I think, did it happen? It happened this year.
Yeah, where they
didn't have school because it was below 32 degrees. And like, I remember we would walk down my hill as a kid in the snow.
And we're like, well,
I'll take it. I mean, I love snow.
So anyway, I went to all our vacant properties and made sure that the heat was on, that the water was dripping, those kind of things, right? So this year it happened like we had 2 in a row, like cold snaps. This year that this happened. So it happened. Then I showed the property, and it was in Robertsdale, which is a little further north than where we are.
Yes.
And it was an older home. The next day that I came back, I opened the door to show it, and the entire house was flooded. The entire house. It started from the top.
That's the worst.
All the way down.
That's the worst.
And I'm talking like 3-4 inches of water inside the house. It just ran.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the worst with vacant homes. I always try to tell my husband, if we're flipping a vacant house, turn off the freaking water every night because no one's going to know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
then you had to call the owner. It's a vacant house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
That's
it worked out. I mean, because their insurance and it did all that.
I know, but it's such a freaking process.
But it still felt like, you know, I dropped the ball. It was my problem. You know, that even though it's not my problem because it's not my property and that's outside of the scope. But it was a fluke that it happened because it was an older home. It wasn't insulated pipes. It was, you know what I mean.
But now, lesson learned. I would just have the water turned off.
Yeah, turn off the water. Turn off the water.
Because like water, just watching my husband and his business, like he had one of those crap moments. I don't know why I'm trying to not curse.
Yeah.
It's not like me, but here I am. And it causes a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I mean, water causes a lot of
people don't realize that. Just a little bit of water causes damage. A little bit of water
causes so much damage. That's horrible.
That's like, I mean, our property's not in a flood zone, like the corner of it is.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's fine. We have flood insurance. It's not. Like, until you go through like a storm and it floods your whole you got to get rid of everything because you don't know what's in that water. It could be feces. It could be all you know what I mean? Like you can't, your stuff is ruined. Yeah. Even an inch of water, 2 inches of water can ruin everything, you know? So,
worst.
Yeah.
You heard that we're going to have a bad hurricane? I'm totally off topic. You've heard that too? Mm-hmm. My God.
Yeah. So
why are they saying that?
I don't know, but it's gonna do it again where we don't prepare. You know what I mean? Like they're like big storm's coming in, and we prepare, and then they say, oh, this is the one, it's not gonna hit, so we don't prepare, and then we're caught with our pants down. You know what I'm saying? Like Sally.
I always tell. So I've lived here. So when Sally happened, I lived here at the time. I had this number the other day, and now I don't know. I was here 8 years. So it's like I wasn't through a hurricane.
That was your first major storm?
8 years.
Yeah.
I lived here, no hurricanes. And then Sally happened, and now everyone keeps saying that hurricane season's going to be bad. I was like, it's the last thing we need.
Yeah, there was a big one. I heard. I mean, I probably should be checking.
I don't check. You know who I get my news? Facebook.
TikTok.
Because everyone will start sharing the
exactly.
local news, and I'm like, oh God, John.
But I heard there's a big one coming right now that's gonna hit maybe
Well, and that's what happens all season. You're like, one's coming, and then it.
But with that, you know, if there's a storm, like a named storm in the Gulf of Mexico,
you can't write insurance.
You can't write insurance, so your closings are delayed. You know, and so it's one of those things that's just out of your control. You know, but you have to be prepared. So
if they usually say it's going to be a big hurricane season, are they usually right? Has this happened before? You've lived here your whole freaking life. I'm from New York.
I know, but it's like that. What I'm saying, like they always say, it's like anything. Oh, it's going to be the worst, and
then nothing ever happens.
Yeah, so I mean,
so this is like
and
normal.
it could be very active for like other states,
Okay.
not us. But we are usually pretty prone. I mean, we're about 15 years. Every 15 years, we get a major.
Because that was going through a hurricane.
That was tough. That one we were not prepared.
Not at all. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I just remember walking outside when it was over, and I always said, I wish my face was recorded. I was literally like, what the?
Oh, we cried. I mean, and it's like
Where
so
do
many
you
emotions
start?
come
Like,
over.
Where do you even begin to clean this up?
My wife is not a crier, and she like literally like laid her head on my shoulder and started sobbing.
It is so overwhelming.
So overwhelming. Yeah.
And the hardest thing is too, being in property management, so many of our owners live out of state. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't get anybody to do anything for you because everyone is
doing everything else
in their zone, helping their home, fixing their families, and the phones don't even work.
Yeah.
So it's
and we don't have internet, so it's like you're gonna have to wait.
Literally, you're cleaning up your yard, and then the owner's like, I can't get to your, like, I can't do anything right now.
Yeah. So our house was hit pretty heavily, and our office was also hit. So it flooded, and I mean, we had to rip everything out of 7,000 square feet. Had to rip everything. Yeah, it was a nightmare. But we were like working on top of the concrete slab and fans going, and but trying to get
the worst
because we have 150 rentals plus all the properties we had. So it was like just trying to get online to call people to tell them what's going on, and try to touch base with the tenants.
And then insurance company, I learned a lot about insurance companies.
Those insurance companies, baby.
Make sure you know your policy with a name storm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A name storm on the policy.
What your deductible is.
So many people could not pay the because your deductible is going to be higher for a name storm.
That's right.
And then it's like $25,000. Well, the work's $10,000. Well, you're just paying for all the work out of pocket. It was cheaper for people to pay out of. I learned so much.
Although mine was all the other structures. Like you would think that things that are attached to your home, like decks and things like that, they're attached, so they should be covered. They're not. They're under other structures. I'm like, literally, I fall out of my house and break my neck if I don't have the deck, so it's attached.
I know. I would.
So we had 3 huge decks that weren't covered, a retaining wall that wasn't covered, all our fence. We got $5,000 for other structures. And we had $170,000 worth of damage.
It's a crock. Like this insurance thing is literally. I was like, what am I paying for?
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse. So like, if you are buying in the Baldwin County, Mobile County area.
Even really, Florida. Like Florida's State Farm, I think, just pulled out.
So many insurance carriers pull out, but just be in the know. I think that's why honestly, that's why new construction this year in the area's gone crazy because of the fortifications.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. If your insurance is $1,000 and for a resale you're paying $3,500,
it's hard to compete as a resale.
It's
because you can't offer the buy downs that new builders are doing. Your house isn't fortified, so you don't get the break. But I'm even hearing some talks about like even fortification really isn't going to make that big of a difference. So
who knows?
But Ono Island, they've named it. It's a barrier island, so a lot of they're not covering it like they were. So your rate. I met with someone on a listing appointment the other day. Their rate was $2,000 a year. It went up to $11,000. Yeah.
Believe it. It's an island.
I know.
In Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I know. So
crazy.
Know your policy.